Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Heather and today I'm going to be here to discuss all of Austen's heroines. And not necessarily rank them, but more of a grouping. So I've noticed that you can group them really into three categories. Before I get into that, however, in all transparency of trying to wear all of my literary t-shirts over the summer, I'm here wearing the Meryton Dance Club t-shirt from Inkwell Threads. And across the bottom it says, "Such superior dancing is not to be seen." So I thought that would be an appropriate one to wear today, although they don't often show up on camera when I'm filming properly. And after I made my initial notes about my Austen Heroes video, which by this point will already be up. Second disclaimer, the construction and landscaping and power washing continue. It shows no signs of stopping, so I apologize, but I've got to film through it. I started to realize very early on that I couldn't really rank my favorite Austen heroines. That didn't really seem fair, because we spend so much more time with them as characters than we do the heroes. They're so much more well-rounded and so much more complex. It doesn't really seem fair to rank them, really. But as I started to think about it, I noticed that a lot of them are very similar. Even though they're so well-rounded and so distinct, there are three major similarities that I found, and I think we can group Austen's heroines into three main categories, which, given popular trends, produce some rather interesting results. So I think our first group is going to consist of Lizzie Bennett and Emma Woodhouse. And these two fall into a category that I'm calling getting things wrong plausibly. And I say that because they do. They, as lively and bubbly and social as they both are, despite how polarizing that can be, I think much more people tend to love Lizzie Bennett than they do Emma Woodhouse. They both have moments of getting things spectacularly wrong. Lizzie, for example, believes Wickham and then gets things horribly wrong about Mr. Darcy's intentions, and indeed even Colonel Fitzwilliam's intentions. Emma gets things far more obviously wrong in the beginning, like with the matchmaking fiasco for Mr. Elton, with Frank Churchill and misreading his situation, misreading Jane Fairfax. Emma misreads all kinds of people, and that is rather the central point of that novel. But I think in both cases, Lizzie and Emma get things wrong understandably. It is completely plausible that if I were in their shoes, I would completely misread that situation as well. The second group, I think, belongs to Katherine Morland and Maryanne Dashwood. And this group I'm calling getting things wrong implausibly. Katherine Morland and her wild fantasies based on all of the novels that she loves to read, and Maryanne with her wildly romantic sensibility, again based on the novels and poetry that she is consuming, also get things very, very wrong about the social situations that are going on around them, misreading romantic situations, misreading friendships, misreading the intentions of older adults. But I think it's fairly well acknowledged that those mistakes are, or should be, far less likely to happen. And it's the fault of their respective youth and inexperience combined with the effect of media that makes them make those mistakes and misjudgments. And then I think in our third group, we have who I am calling the almost detached, very rational, very internal characters, almost to a fault. And those, I think, are Elinor Dashwood, Fanny Price, and Anne Elliot. I put these three together because I think they really are much more similar than they are different. All of their emotions they tend to keep hidden, mostly due to the fact that they don't want to share them with their families, and they feel like they can't share them with their families, either because their families are horrible or because their families are going through enough as it is, or because they will take those emotions and run with them and they don't feel comfortable with that. Whatever the reason is, we as the reader understand what they are feeling far more than the people around them do, because we get access to their internal monologue. A lot of the time, the decision to keep their emotions internal is also based on rational choice and a feeling of moral duty. But the three of them are also in some of the most unstable circumstances as well, which probably contributes to them wanting to keep everything tucked away, is just a compartmentalization. Fanny being taken in at the Bertrams, but feeling like that home could be taken away at any moment. The Bertrams could revoke that hospitality quite easily. And moving between homes, not even knowing if settling in Bath is going to be a permanent home. Will they have to move somewhere else again? And the same with Eleanor Dashwood, for two very different reasons, but they're both uprooted unwillingly from their homes due to purely financial situations. So I think those are quite good reasons for them not sharing quite as much socially as the other aforementioned heroines. But ironically, even though we have the most access to their internal workings, these three I feel like tend to get the least amount of popular support. I could be wrong, you can prove me wrong, but I feel like they tend to be less popular because they are not so light, bright, and sparkling. But when you look at their circumstances, they have very good reason for not being so light, bright, and sparkling. And they have many other wonderful qualities to bring to the table. In fact, as a sub-point, but I feel like it fits in nicely here, I was discussing how much I disliked the Netflix Persuasion with a coworker of mine, and she said, "But didn't you find it funny at least? Didn't you find Dakota Johnson funny?" And I had to look at her and say, "But Anne Elliot isn't funny. That's the point. Anne Elliot is many other wonderful things, but she's not funny." And considering everything that's going on and how internal a character she is, when you stop to think about it, it's completely understandable why she is not witty and funny in any way. So those are my ramblings about the heroines. Let me know down below, again, if you agree, disagree, have extra points to bring to the discussion. And until next time, be safe, be well, and happy reading. Bye, everyone.